How's it going? I'm Richie Castellano, and this is a Line 6 Helix preset video. I've been messing around with the Placater recently, which is from a fairly recent update, and I normally would use the Angle Meteor for my rhythm sound, so let me play that right now. Here is the Meteor. This is my old rhythm sound. Great sound, I love it. I use this sound for like 90% of the gig. But I was noticing I was getting a little bit of buzziness from the fuller chords, you know, the... It's fine, but I wanted it to sound kind of cleaner, but without losing the punch. And the problem is, on the Meteor, I had the drive almost all the way down, so the virtual tubes weren't really working very well. So what I ended up switching to is the Placater, and here's what that sounds like. So it's just a little smoother sounding, but it still has the punch, so you could still do some heavy stuff, you know. Now this is the sound I use 90% of the time with Blue Oyster Cult, and it's just a great all-around rhythm sound. But some of the things you'll see inside the preset might not make sense because it's made specifically for me and my rig, so I'll talk about that right now. So let's take a look at what's going on inside this preset. The first thing I have is a wah, and if you're using a Helix floor or an LT, the toe switch will turn this on in its default position. It's just a weeper, nothing special about it. The next thing I have is a Scream 808, which by default is off. Now the reason for this is, you know, this is a great sounding preset, but sometimes you might want a little more gain, something a little more mid-rangey, especially if you're doing like... So if I kick that on... And if you'll notice, it's set similarly to my heavy rhythm sound. So it's kind of a little bit of that hard rock metal kind of thing in this preset in case I need it. So let's turn that off. The next thing I have is a hard gate. Again, you can feel free to turn this off if you don't like it. I like the sound to be dead quiet when I'm not playing. That's what I personally like. The threshold's not too bad because I can lightly touch the string and it turns on. But again, feel free to change whatever you want. Next, I have a split path. Now, this is effects loop 1. I use on the road a Digitech Freakout pedal, and that's what goes into here. Feel free to take this off if you're not going to use it. You know, take this whole path is only for that, because basically I'm blending it in to the whole sound, to my normal sound. So that's what this is for. And I have a foot switch that turns that on, and this also is a mute right now. This mutes this path when it's not being used because I was hearing a little bit of noise even when the block wasn't on. It was just a weird thing. So right now, this is completely muted, and when I hit the feedback switch, my mute turns off and the effects loop block turns on. I don't have the freak out with me in the studio right now. It's on the road, but that's what it does. That's what it's for. And again, if you don't have that pedal, feel free to just erase these and this whole parallel path, because that's all I'm using it for. Next, we have the actual Placater, which is, you know, I really like it, like the way it sounds. Okay, after this, I have the Flanger, which I use quite a bit. And I like it here. I like it sort of after the amp, before the cabinet, as if this were some sort of like effects loop on an amp. And that's where I liked it. I've experimented with it in front or in back. For me, I like the way this sounds. It was poking through the mix a little more for this. And this is something I use a lot, just for, you know, various songs. It's just a nice little effect to put on every once in a while. After that, I have an EQ, and all this is really doing is giving me a little more thump to this, because I felt it was missing with this particular amp, but this really brought it back. Okay, here is the important thing to talk about. When I play with this sound, I use an Ownhammer impulse response, and this is one of the new ones that I'm using. And if you want a link to a video where I talked about picking the new one out, I'll post a link right now to that. This is the Ownhammer 412 rectifier CB-NEO 7B10. That's the exact impulse response. I'll put a link below to where you can buy this impulse response from Ownhammer. It's worth it. It's amazing. It's an awesome collection. But if you really don't want to use that and you'd rather use a stock cabinet, I've also left an option here for you. It's bypassed in this particular preset. Maybe I'll make this. Maybe I'll make the IR bypassed in the default state when you download this, just so it doesn't sound like a buzz factory. And everybody goes, "What the hell?" But okay, so here is the impulse response, right? And here is the cabinet. So recently I found out that the closest thing to the sound I like from the Ownhammer impulse responses stock is the 412 XXL V30. Personally, I prefer the impulse response a little bit more, but this sounds pretty close, and it's serviceable for sure. I'll go back and forth one more time. So they're pretty similar. And what's going on here is I have, like I said, the 412 XXL V30. I'm using the 438 ribbon mic on this one. Put it a little bit, moved it a little further away from the speaker than I normally would. Pretty aggressive low cut. And I have a 14K high cut, a little bit of early reflections, and I boosted the output to just match the same level I was getting from the impulse response. So again, I recommend using the IR, but if you just want to mess around with this, the XXL will get you there, and it's pretty close. It sounds good. So next up in the chain, we have a chorus. I'm going to switch back to the IR for now. And that's a Trinity chorus. Now, this whole preset is designed to be mono. I think I have it. Yeah, it all sums down to mono at the end. The reason for that is I play mono with Blue Oyster Cult. I got one channel. Feel free to make the stereo. For me, it's mono. After the chorus, I have a delay, and this is tied to the foot switch, the expression pedal. So it's on all the time, but by default, the expression pedal is at 0. So I'll bring it up. And it's also tied to the tap tempo. So if I want this to be like a slap, gotta hit it really fast. So that's the delay. Okay, the next thing I have here is a reverb that always stays on. Now, if you'll notice, there's really not much of it. You could barely hear it. Now, I'll turn it off. This is not really meant to be audible. It's really meant for in-ear monitors, because when I use in-ears and there's no ambience on it, it gets a little disorienting and weird sounding. So sometimes I'll put either a room or a tile on these very, very slightly, just so when I have the preset going in the ears, it doesn't sound like my head is inside a speaker. It sounds like there's a little bit more room to it. So that's what that's for. If you're running out of DSP, this is probably the first thing I would recommend you get rid of, because it's really not making that much of a difference to the tone. It's just giving a little bit of room sound. That's all it's there for. And like most of my presets, I have the parametric EQ, and this is almost like my version of mixing the sound. Like if I was doing an audio mix for, a track or whatever, I would almost always put an EQ on the guitar track just to carve out what I don't like, add what I need. So that's what this is doing. It's kind of subtle. I have, let's see what I got going. I have just a tiny bit here. That's probably not even doing anything on 250. I'm taking out some 4K, which is something I normally do on a lot of these presets just to get rid of that like really harsh sound that some of the more distorted amps have in general. Not just with the Helix. Even if I were to mic a cabinet, I usually will take some of that out. And then the high, I'm not really doing anything to that at all. I have some more low cut and high cut going on here. And that's it. And again, you can do this to taste. I use this in place of a global EQ because with my setup, the global EQ goes to my stage monitor. This goes to the house. So this is like my custom tailored global EQ, and it's kind of similar on every single preset that I have. Then finally, I have a boost. It's a 3 dB boost. It's mapped to the pedal. It's pretty straightforward, just a little lead boost if you need it. Even though this is mainly my rhythm sound, you can use it for leads too. That's why I have the boost and the distortion boost and the delay. So for example, if I wanted something that wasn't quite so over the top, something a little more smooth, you just kick the delay in. Another thing worth mentioning is this preset is called Axis Placater because it's made to be used with a guitar with these kinds of pickups. This is a Ernie Ball Music Man, which is similar to the Axis I have on the road. These are very hot DiMarzio pickups. So if you have a guitar with hot pickups, it might work. If not, you might need to crank up the gains a little bit because it's going to sound really wimpy. Like I'll give you an example here. I'll plug the Les Paul in. It actually sounds good. It's just the gain level isn't as high as it was before. So what I would do probably is I would just go back to the preset and just kick up the drive a little. Yes, that works. Okay, so if you want to get this preset, the link is in the description to the Line 6 custom tone page, and I hope you guys like it. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. As always, I say this every time, that helps me immensely, and that really does. So if you like this kind of thing and you want to see more of it, please like and subscribe. And that's it. See you next time, and I'll see you guys on the Facebook page and on YouTube and all that fun stuff. Later. Thanks for watching this video. To see even more videos, make sure you subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to interact with me on social media, please follow my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. If you like podcasts, check out my show Band Geek on the Riotcast Network. For tour dates and even more info, go to richiecastellano.com. Now, here's a video I picked just for you. I think you'll like it. Go ahead, click it. It's good.